This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on PM Mitra Mega Textile Parks, a boost to textile sector. The participants are Puneet Jain, economic analyst, and Rajesh Lake, AIR correspondent.
The 7 PM Mitra, which is the Pradhan Mantri Mega Integrated Textile Region and Apparel Park sites, have been announced. Would you give us an insight as to what PM Mitra is all about?
You know, textile industry is an extremely important segment of our economy. On employment front, it employs 4.5 crore direct employees. And if we take it allied industry, it employs more than 6 crore people, out of which 35 lakh employees are actually in the handloom sector. So you understand the significance. It is the second largest employer for the country. And we need to promote this sector for social as well as economical reasons. And therefore, I think the Prime Minister has done a very important, started promoting these mega parks which will integrate all textile manufacturing companies in one place, so that the benefit of cost is also there in the scale, and the economies of scale are there. And these companies then become competitive on global scale, and we can increase the market share that we have in global textile trade. In that sense, it is a very, very important thing. Towards realizing this dream, I would say, government has promised that it will invest more than 4,500 crore directly in these companies, in these parks. They have asked the state governments also to contribute 1,000 acres each towards making these parks. Private sector companies will also be involved in promoting special purpose vehicles. These companies will promote the infrastructure. So they will set up parks, they'll set up roads, power supply, other infrastructure facilities, where smaller textile companies then come together and start manufacturing these garments. I think it is extremely useful. I would like to underline the fact that textiles is almost 15% of the total industrial production of India. So we understand the significance of it, and therefore I think this scheme is going to go a long way in promoting this sector.
So as you said, 70,000 crore worth of investment is going to be there, and 20 lakhs employment generation is envisaged through these PM Mitra. The PM Mitra parks in Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Gujarat, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra. And I understand the parks are inspired by the 5F vision of the Honorable Prime Minister. Would you throw some light on that?
This vision is extremely important because India, while it has been very strong in certain sectors of this industry, we have certain weaknesses in other sectors. So we try to integrate all this. So 5F from farm, where we produce raw materials like cotton and jute and wool. So from farm, we make value addition to fiber, which is basically threads or yarns. Fiber to fabric, which is material for garments. So farm, fiber, fabric, fashion, which is ready-made garments, which is very high value addition. And then we go to FOS, which is exports. These 5F together will help us to realize the true potential of our produce. Otherwise, usually, as you would know, that India is the largest producer of cotton in the world. We are the largest producer of jute in the world. And yet our farmers don't get appropriate, I would say, remuneration for what they produce. And they would like to have better prices for their products. So that is possible only when higher value addition up the chain, and then we are able to export. So I think these parks, the whole idea behind this park, the inspiration behind this Mitra project is to enable the industry to create that value addition, so that everybody in the value chain, from farmers, the workers, to the factory owner, everybody realizes better prices for the products through exports and better infrastructure.
So this farm to fiber to factory to fashion to foreign, which is exports, will happen from a single location?
Vision is that we have a special purpose vehicle in which there is a private sector promoter, there is state government which is a partner, just contributed land, and central government will provide capital subsidy. They promised 500 crores, 300 crores per park, which is to provide that viability gap funding. Because most of these infrastructure projects, they are long gestation. Sometimes they have initial funding problems. So central government, as the Prime Minister has promised, that he will contribute 500 to 800 crores per park from the central kitty to make that financially viable. Then in one place, you will have all logistics players, you will have manufacturers, you will have exporters, you will have traders. They're all in one place. Therefore, the efficiency and the competitiveness of the units goes up. And like we said earlier, the two main reasons for increasing competitiveness of any industry is to have lower costs and better infrastructure or better scales of economy. The PM Mitra scheme will target to achieve both these goals, to reduce costs for the players and to have economies of scale for all the companies.
These parks will also offer an opportunity to create an integrated textile value chain, right from spinning, weaving, processing, dyeing and printing to garment manufacturing at a single location. Would you elaborate on that point?
I like to emphasize that we are doing well as far as production of raw materials is concerned. I said earlier, we are the largest producer of cotton and jute in the world. In fact, in respect of other fibers like man-made fibers or wool or silk, we are the second largest in the world. So there is definitely, on that front, we have done very well. In fact, India has a history of producing textile fibers very well. But when it comes to making the value addition and exporting to the others, that is where we have lagged for many, many years. And in fact, one of the glaring examples would be that while we are the second largest exporter globally, so globally, India is the second largest textile exporter, but we have only 4% share of the global trade as far as textile made-ups are concerned or garments are concerned. So really, we need to move up the value chain. There is an opportunity there. And last few years, that opportunity has opened up because China has been retreating in the global markets to some extent. They have lost market share. Even in USA, their exports have been going down. So we have an opportunity of filling that gap. However, what we have seen is that countries like Bangladesh and Vietnam, because they were better placed in terms of quotas and they were better placed in terms of cost, they have been able to grow. While India's share hasn't gone down, but we continue to be still stagnating at about 4% of the global trade. We need to take that 4% to 6-7%, and 45 billion exports that we have will then possibly go to $60-65 billion, which is our target.
How is it going to boost the FDI and local investment in the textile sector?
There are two other, I think, accompanying schemes which will work very well with Mitra, and that's why I say it's a very comprehensive plan the government has drawn. So government has allowed 100% FDI in textile sector. So if a foreign company wants to come and invest in India, they have no hurdles. They can completely, without any licensing or any hurdles, they can come and invest in Indian textile industry, 100% FDI, no problem. Along with it, government has announced 11,000 crore PLI, Production Linked Incentive Scheme, and largely for the garment sector and value addition sector. So that incentive is available to those who want to produce well in textile industry, along with 100% FDI, 11,000 crore PLI, and the integrated parks. I think India's textile industry will really have a very strong tailwind to support their efforts to increase share in the global trade.
So this is also going to attract world-class industrial infrastructure and cutting-edge technology and to make it world-class as we've been talking about.
India has a very large domestic market, which as it is attracts a lot of MNCs and global players to come to India. And India's importance, as you know, has been growing significantly on the global economic stage. So we have a total textile market in India, which is approximately $150-160 billion. And that is projected to grow at 15-20% every year. So as it is, companies have an incentive, large companies, global companies have an incentive to come here, manufacture in India for the domestic market. But now the government is saying that you can do it for domestic players, but you should also export. And it's not mandatory, because if they find good infrastructure and low cost, I'm sure they will find it very economical to be able to manufacture here for the domestic market and for exports. We are not competing with Bangladesh or Vietnam for global trade, really. India is really, if we look at it, is really competing to fill that gap from China. Because China plus one is the new policy world is trying to follow. And I think India is looking to grab that market share from China. And as it is, 60% of our exports are to Europe and USA. I think we are very well placed for that.
How will we reduce the logistics cost of the industry?
We have seen usually, and this is what industry also talks about, is the integrated method. Because, see, if you go to different players, if a factory manufacturer, as producer, has to go to different service providers in different places, and then you cannot get lower costs, because their operating costs will become larger in different, if they are spread over a large geographical area. And that is why the whole idea that you create integrated places where all services are provided by a single or a few service providers who are large-scale service providers. And that's why this concept of economies of scale, if you look at China, see, China succeeded not because they had some special technique or some special benefit, but China succeeded largely because they created mega factories. They created huge infrastructure and provided at lower cost to all their manufacturers. We are not, of course, replicating that. It's a different model. But we realize that we need to be a large-scale player. The economies of scale have to be pursued if we want to become player in that space.
7 sites were chosen out of 18 proposals for PM Mitra parks, which were received from 13 states. So what was the criteria used, and how did PM Gati Shakti Master Plan for Multinodal Connectivity used for validation?
Interestingly, In fact, I was also wondering, when I looked at the 7 states, with basically Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, UP, Gujarat and Maharashtra. See, these are also states which are also large producers of farm, which is basically fiber and cotton and jute and these raw materials. So clearly, the whole vision that we create these integrated corridors or parks actually starts from the farm, where the farmer is producing, and we keep the manufacturing units closer to the farm. And we don't take it away to large mega cities where costs are higher and employment is very difficult. So I think the whole idea is to keep the manufacturing centers closer to the farms, and that is why these 7 states, it appears to me that they have been chosen, and maybe it will be expanded to other states later on. But I think for the time being, the idea has been to keep it closer to the farmer rather than to the industrial hubs.
As I understand, the Ministry of Textile will oversee the execution and the implementation of the project. Do you want to throw some light on the way the projects or these parks will be run?
The scheme is that the government will promote a special purpose vehicle. A special purpose vehicle is a company which has whose stated objective is to set up such a park. Now, where does the capital for that company come from? In this case, because these SPVs are proposed in public-private partnership mode, PPP mode, the central government is providing some money, which I said capital is in various subsidies, in the form of various capital subsidies, roughly about 500 crores, 600 crores per company. Plus, they have asked the state governments to become a partner by contributing land. So, state governments usually don't have large capital to contribute. So, they have said, okay, you contribute 1,000 acres of land to this project, to this company. And the private player who is going to actually implement this whole integration and setting up of the infrastructure facilities, the private player then brings his own capital into the company, and then they start setting up water treatment, electricity supplies, residential units for workers, manufacturing units for the factories. So that whole ecosystem for manufacturing hubs, that will be created. The companies then, whoever wants to go in, has to just go and plug and play. I mean, you can just go in, get a license, you have a ready-made factory available with power supply, with water supply, with residential quarters for your workers, practically everything. And you just, if you are a manufacturer, you just go there, technology, you know what you want to produce. You get everything ready from the SPV and you can start manufacturing. So the time to set up the manufacturing unit will maybe a few months only.
We also have a lot of incentive schemes. You did touch upon one, Puneet, about the competitive incentive support, CIS, up to rupees 300 crore per park to the units in PM Mitra Park. There's also some convergence with other Government of India schemes which will facilitate in order to ensure additional incentives to the master developer and investor units. The importance of incentivizing, what is the reason behind that?
Rajesh, again, this developing such infrastructure is usually very difficult, and it is cost intensive. It requires a lot of patience because, like I said earlier, there's a viability gap always, and it takes time to develop. So I think government has many schemes. In fact, textile sector has been a priority sector for government, largely because of employment opportunity and the contribution to GDP. So government has been having technology upgradation fund for textile sector. There have been a textile development fund. So over the years, government has given many fiscal incentives and monetary incentives to textile industry. Now, when we are putting up an integrated township, you can say, or a park for textile industry, it is important that all schemes are available to those units. Otherwise, people will be wary of moving to such a park if they are missing out on the technology upgradation fund or something. I think the idea was to get all incentives in one place, get all the infrastructure in place, and all the manufacturers. So, truly speaking, the Mitra is an integrated hub or integrated center for anybody who wants to be in textile industry. You can simply go there, plug and play, and you are ready to go.
Absolutely. And to put it all together, PM Mitra Parks represents a unique model where the center and state governments will work together to increase investment, promote innovation, create job opportunities, and ultimately make India a global hub for textile manufacturing and exports. Puneet, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you so much.
You were listening to a discussion on PM Mitra Mega Textile Parks, a boost to textile sector. The participants were Puneet Jain, economic analyst, and Rajesh Lake, AIR correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.